Welcome everyone to the October 22nd XMod Pro user group meeting. We hope you are having a great autumn, and we are happy to be back on the air. So we had a very busy summer and early fall. So if you didn't get to see our last video on July 23rd, I highly recommend you checking that out, as well as all of our other XMod Pro videos or meetings. They have a lot of great information and demonstrations. If you want to watch this live, you can participate by clicking on that link I provided in our Hangouts message center. And once you come in, if you just mute your microphone to participate, if you have any questions and you're participating, there's a Q&A button that you can click that should be on the left of your screen. And if somebody is giving a presentation and you have some questions, feel free to put your question in there and they'll address that as soon as they can. Also, we have a chat window if you're participating, and you can send chat messages to people within the group. But if you do have a question about the presentation, feel free to add that to the Q&A, and I'll make sure that everybody hears that and we can get your questions addressed. Today we'll have Patrick Ryan speaking, and he's going to be talking about a couple very interesting things. One, he'll share a little bit about his book, Discover XMod Pro, and what's going on with that. And then he's going to have a useful XMod Pro demonstration today. And then Kelly Ford will also be talking with you, and we might get a little word on what might be happening with the next release or next version of XMod Pro. So welcome again to our October XMod Pro user group meeting, and I will pass this off to Kelly.
Thanks, Melinda. And welcome to the October user group meeting for XMod Pro. I am glad you could join us. I see that we actually have some people live with us today, Roy Barrow and Kevin Justice as well. So welcome. This is the first time I think you guys have been able to join us live. So be sure, if you have any questions, either follow Melinda's instructions, or you can also just unmute and pipe up and interrupt us. We're kind of casual here, so no worries about that. I did want to, this is kind of a special session for us, the user group. We don't normally do overt commercials, either for XMod Pro or anything else really, but we do like to let you know about either add-ons and things that have been happening in the XMod Pro community. And if you've been active in the community, or even just paying attention to the user group meetings, you know that for the past, I'll get this wrong, but probably about a year-ish, something like that, Patrick has been working on a book called Discover XMod Pro. And unlike a lot of books, you know, I'm part of the, you probably are too, part of the MEEP program at Manning Publications. They have the early access books. O'Reilly has it as well, and it is all too often that you get a book that gets started in this program that you're really interested in, and they get about 3 or 4 chapters done, and you're like, all right, I'm looking forward to the next one. And then a couple of months later, you get an email from the publisher saying, oh, sorry, we had to cancel the book. And that's, who knows why specifically. They won't give you that reason, but you know, people get busy, people get lazy, who knows, or people start writing and realize it's just too much work to write a book. And it really is an awful lot of work. And what Patrick has done with his Discover XMod Pro book is he's really created a living, breathing book, one that is updated regularly and is filled with all sorts of videos and how-tos, and really takes you from a know-nothing standpoint to being quite expert in XMod Pro. But more than just the content, the fact that we are now today celebrating the completion of the basic edition of that book, which is and again, Patrick can correct me. Patrick, you're going to mute yourself, and we can talk about this a little bit. But how many chapters is this book so far, the basic edition?
We have 34 chapters plus 3 or 4 deep dive chapters. There's somewhere in the neighborhood of 28 videos with over 5 hours of video content, and of course, code examples throughout the entire thing.
So that is a ton of work. Yeah. And really, the fact that you've been able to stick with it. When did you start again?
You know what? I'm not exactly sure. It was roughly a year ago.
Okay.
And I still remember my statement of ignorance in a user group session when I was announcing it, saying that someone could go through this book over a weekend. And, it turned into much more than that.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good thing, though, because as you've kind of demonstrated in the book, you can get really deep with XMod Pro. It's much more a very long weekend, as Roy says. Yeah, it is quite in depth, and in order to give something like that the treatment it deserves, you really need to spend a lot of time with it, getting used to it. But one of the nice things I like about the book is you have these examples, you can really get some nice looking stuff up and running fairly quickly.
Yeah, one of the things I thought about as I was building it is, well, let me turn this around. One of the things that I have personally faced with online tutorials or any how-tos is they always leave you with very basic stuff, and they also assume that you have foundational knowledge in lots of things. And then you read statements like, well, this book isn't intended to teach you about security on user accounts, so forget you, buddy, go learn about that somewhere else. And what people end up with is an incomplete solution, something that really didn't get them very far. So, in this book, when you talk about learning XMod Pro, the only basic knowledge required in this book is DNN, because it teaches you how to use SQL Server, installing it, using it, all the different types of queries, T-SQL, JavaScript. My goal is to, I went back and kind of looked at my own path of learning, how I stepped in and how I learned. I did my best to recreate that in the book so that people could learn the way that I did, but a whole lot faster. I went down many forks.
So maybe not a weekend or even a long weekend, but maybe how long would you consider? First of all, how many minutes of video do you estimate you've got in this book?
Well, there's over 5 hours. As far as me creating the videos, gosh, way more than that. But yeah. I don't really know how long it would take to go through it. It's here's what I'm finding. I'm getting feedback. I would say probably a couple weeks if someone really wanted to focus on it. But what I'm finding is people are going through the book, they're finding individual components, and they're going back to the book, to those chapters, the way it's compartmentalized. For example, creating a custom registration form. And they go back and they reference their progress in the book to recreate that in their site. So I've got some people that are going from A to Z on it. I've got people that are starting. One guy, I won't name his name, but he bought the book and he started on the custom registration form. So it's a lot of ways to use it, I guess. People have really surprised me.
Yeah, I found with XMod Pro, people tend to pick it up and they have a particular project or problem that they're trying to solve, and they want to jump immediately into that. Yeah, and are you having that problem too? Or are people wanting to start from scratch and go all the way?
Yes, I'm both. I'm having both types, and actually it's been rather stressful at times. I have people that start in the middle of the book and start emailing me questions, and those questions are answered in Chapter 2 or Chapter 3.
Yeah.
Or I've got people that are not even sleeping and they're going through this thing as much as possible, emailing me, when's the next chapter coming out? It's like, my gosh, man, especially when there's a video, it takes 2 or 3 days to put together a chapter, proofread it, double test everything, because if something's wrong, and I'm the one that looks like an idiot. I'd rather not do that.
Yeah. Now, what kind of feedback have you gotten? Reactions have you gotten to the book?
Every single person that has purchased the book has said it has by far exceeded their expectations. And I've had people email me links and screenshots saying, hey, I just wanted to show you this. I'm working on a client project, and I duplicated what I learned in chapter such and such. And we're getting IT companies purchasing for their internal IT guys. We're getting just web shops purchasing. Vast amount of people, but every single bit of the feedback has been good.
Excellent. That's great to hear, and I'm quite proud of the fact that you've been able to get this far with the book. But you have more than just the basic edition, right? You have other plans for this?
Yes, there is the complete edition, which actually the first chapter in the complete edition is finished. That's on code refactoring. It's actually a deep dive chapter. And then we have the Elite Edition. The complete edition is more about software. You know, they're getting discounted software for the classifieds application, so it's actually going to be very simple. They're just learning how to use that software, except for adding analytics and some other things. The Elite Edition is going to involve custom programming. I'm going to introduce people to VB.net, to Visual Studio, how to create a custom form action, how to create a custom template tag. That way they can, well, there's no limits once you get to that point. And that's where I want people to be, is realize if you use DNN as a framework and you use XMod Pro to rapidly build module solutions, anything that you can't do with that, you can extend the capabilities of XMod Pro with your own custom stuff. I think that's something you've run into as well, where people are like, well, can you make the file upload do this or do that? And actually, at a core, XMod Pro needs to serve a vast amount of developers. So that's where people need to make their own plugins and stuff. I want people to learn how to do that.
Good. Now, all right, so I don't want to take up all of the time here. I really want you to tell everyone about the book, and basically what you have. I mean, you have a ton of free chapters there, so we can cover those, talk about what's in those, and talk about what else is in the basic, the complete, and the advanced. Was that the name you had?
Elite.
Elite, of course.
I thought about advanced, but Elite sounded a whole lot cooler.
Yeah, I'm obviously not in that category, or else I would have remembered that. So yeah, go ahead and give us kind of a tour of the book.
Okay, I'll tell you the easiest way to do it is first I'll share my screen. I'll show you guys the chapters, and then I'll just show you the actual application that we're building. Give you a better visual representation of that. Pardon me, I'm in my home office, and there's a toddler on the other end of the house that you can possibly hear. Okay. Let's see. You guys can just let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it. Everybody else can see it okay? Yeah, good. We're good.
Okay, so grab your coffee, turn your phone off, and grab your notebook as this thing portrays. And if you look at the table of contents, I will try to zoom in a little bit. Let's see. Okay. So here you can see the free chapters. Got an intro, how to install XMod Pro. There's a skin that comes with the book too. Very simple. A deep dive on Bootstrap, getting started. All the basic stuff that you really need to really just start building something. And then it gets into pretty much dive right into some well, a little bit beyond basic stuff. So here's where you're creating category solution. You're learning the basics of T-SQL and data integrity, custom commands, database normalization, on and on and on and on and on. This is my favorite right here, the iOS style messaging. I'll show you guys that.
Well, can I stop you real quick before you go there? I noticed as you're scrolling through, there were like the seller profile module and a dashboard. What is all that about?
Well, that's where I just kind of need to show you. So, all right, let me go back over here. So, when it actually gets into the public side of the application, we create a custom registration form. There are registered users on the site, and if you want to become a seller, you have to agree to a little extra blurbage, and you fill out a seller sign-up form. It's a registration form to become a seller. Then we created a form to post an ad, add images, multiple images, details about the ad, location, and so on. And the seller dashboard is like the home for the seller. That's where they manage all their stuff. They manage their ads from that page. They manage their messages, their profile, everything from that page. And there's their profile, and that's what all of that dashboard is about. And I'll show you guys that.
So this is just a sample program, or it looks awfully in depth?
This is a complete solution that can be monetized.
So we're not talking about one of those simple little demos that you get that isn't valid past the chapter you read it in most books? This is
not even close. We get into detail pages and search engine optimization. We get into social sharing, where we implement address, and I mean all the way down to open graph tags and just
really soup to nuts then.
Yes, everything. Finalizing the app, we did quite a bit of stuff. The complete edition, we're going to integrate DNN search. We can teach you how to, a lot of people, they think, well, that just needs to be a detailed view of a record for DNN search, but we can integrate DNN search in several ways. I'm going to show you that. You can see Chapter 36 is where we just integrate MailChimp, which is software that I developed. It's a form action. OrphanX, same thing. We're going to add text messaging, notifications, seller analytics, where they can see how many hits their page is getting or their ad is getting, stuff like that. Seller follows will allow consumers that are to follow a seller, which gets into the scheduled notifications. Like so-and-so posted a new ad, you're following the seller. And this is actually software that I'm building. It's called Schedule X, and it's going to be a multi-purpose scheduling tool. And then we're going to integrate PayPal, Part 1 and Part 2, where, yes, you can take payments. And the Elite Edition, you can see it's just basic. It is basic in its own right, but at advanced topics. This is getting into programming. So we're going to create a custom form action. We're going to create a custom template tag. I'm going to show you how to package the software and to where you can put it on DNN Store, wherever else, to where people can download it, install it, uninstall it, and work with it, and so on. So
really nice.
Yeah, big XMod Pro advocate here, as you can tell.
I'm not going to argue with you. It's a good thing to be.
Like for example, this up here, this schedule notifications, the Schedule X. The only thing that's really XMod Pro related is working with it from within the template. Everything else is custom code that's handled through a scheduling task. But what I love about it, and the reason I use XMod Pro, is because a customer may want to buy this, and they can completely customize the look and the feel of it for their website. They can put their client's name at the top of it without having to dig into a control file and edit something in that manner, and then when they do an upgrade on the module, it changes back, stuff like that. That's what I love about the flexibility. So
you're not stuck with some developers' idea of what looks pretty?
Exactly.
So you're not stuck with my idea of what's pretty. I get
it. No comment.
Okay.
So this here is a real site. You can actually pull it up. It's a classified site I'm building for the Arizona area, aza-z.com. A little cheesy, but that's okay. And some things aren't very pretty because I'm focused more on functionality, but a lot of this is beautiful. So I'm logged in as host right now, and let me first take you to the classified admin page. This is all being done in the book. So you can see on the dashboard, it tells me I don't have any ads I need to review. I can see statistics by level, because we have different levels, free, trusted. Free is where you have to approve their ad manually. This is also cool because once you've approved 5 ads manually, it automatically determines this in a SOAR procedure and pushes them to the trusted. That way it mitigates your work. Pro, this is for people that are going to pay. And then you got ads by location, sellers by location, and estimated monthly revenue. I'm not making a whole lot of this, as you can tell. And now we've got an ads tab. And this is where you can manage the different ads. You can view details of the ads, edit the ad. You can scroll here a little bit. That's all right. I've got this thing zoomed in. It's unapproved, deactivate, mark as sold, renew the ad, or delete. So, for example, I can renew this ad here, and you can see that the expiration changed. That's search and sort, all that good stuff. Here's where you can manage the locations. Shows you the seller count. I've got multiple templates here. You can show sellers and see the sellers that are within a particular location. Levels, this is where you manage the different levels, prices, categories, self-explanatory there. This is a pretty advanced category solution to where it does organize in the structure of parent-child. And then, of course, sellers. I've got lots of John Does. But with a seller, you know, you've got lots of stuff. I mean, everything is... I didn't get lazy on design with this because, you know, I'm building this to make money too. So I want it to look good. You can soft delete a seller, ban a seller, hard delete a seller. You can post an ad on their behalf. You know, here's where you select the location, add title, subtitle, some other info. We're using the Exile upload control to add images, additional images. Category selection. We learn how to take a list box control and turn it into a checkbox tree.
Now, I remember you talking about that in one of our previous user groups, right?
Yes, exactly. Some administrative functions down here. So, and then we started working on the public side of the site, aside from, you know, the registration form, the contact form. As you can see, we're using modal pop-ups, and directly from within here, we're using the magnific pop-up. So check that out. That's pretty cool. They can reply to an ad directly from here, which you're seeing. This is an iframe, so you're seeing the, you know, administrator stuff. But you can type a message in there and you click send message. Then we've got the ads page, which is everything, all the above. That's my daughter. I use whatever picture I could find. You know, here's the social sharing. And this is cool. You can filter by categories and locations. So, for example, if I want to say, okay, I just want antiques. I see there's 5 in antiques. And there they are. You can see it. This is all JavaScript stuff here. It creates a breadcrumb. And go back to all ads. And I can search. Search for a toy, and clear that search. Or from here, I can switch to, let's say, Avondale. You can see the numbers dynamically change. You can see the city over here on the right. Go back. Then we've got the sellers page. This is where, and Mr. Bean. Let's take a look at Mr. Bean here. There's Mr. Bean. Here's his profile page. We can send Mr. Bean a message. And we can also view all of Mr. Bean's ads. Same functionality. These also have detail pages for inbound links, so if you share on social media, you land on a detail page of an ad. And this is the cool part. I'll show you what it's like to be a seller. By the way, this right here is Impersonate X. I just published this the other day. So I'm going to find, let's go to Hello World. I'm going to impersonate this DNN user. And now I'm logged in as them. I'll go to my dashboard. There's my ads that I can manage. I've marked this one as sold, you can see. And this is my favorite part. This is the iOS style messaging app. So this should look like just like an iMessage interface here. So I can click on here and you can see it change on the right.
I think that's pretty amazing to see.
Yeah. I can type a reply and click send. Take a look. There it is. So, you know, my message is on the right, their message is on the left. And
who needs an iPhone?
Who needs an iPhone? And it's more than that. It operates just like that. It will, let's see, I'm going to send Mr. Bean I don't know if I can get this to work this quickly, but let me send Mr. Bean a message. Depends on where they're, you'll see in just a second. All right. Let's impersonate Mr. Bean. That's him. And, okay. No, that's not Mr. Bean. Shoot. I don't remember which one Mr. Bean was. One of the other features in the messaging app is it shows a little blue dot for new messages, which is really cool. And so when you click on it, it hides that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very Apple.
So, I mean, that's you know, I post an ad. But that, I mean, that's, you know, there's lots of stuff. There's more stuff that I haven't shown you, but this right here is going to be in the next chapter, where you can integrate XMod Pro into the search. So that's all I've got for a basic explanation of all the different features in here. Hope
That's all?
that. No, there's more, but
Boy, it's a pretty chintzy program there.
Yeah, it's crap, isn't it?
Wow, now how much of that is XMod Pro?
How much of that is XMod Pro? It's all XMod Pro.
There you go, right answer.
It's it's leveraging XMod Pro. It's heavily relies on some JavaScript when we get into some advanced stuff, like that messaging app. But yeah, there is certainly no third-party module installed on this site. I promise you.
I don't want to sound like this is an infomercial at all, because I mean you've freely given an enormous amount of time and energy and knowledge to people in the community, and I really am truly impressed with what you've done with the book. Even if it wasn't XMod Pro, I would say this is. I mean, it's really attractive design. The fact that you can actually get a book that's continuing to be written, that is complete and can provide you with a way to build a really complete application just astounds me. You really don't find that very often. I think the Meteor people, Meteor.js people, I think they start out when they're teaching you how to use Meteor by building an application. I think it's just like a news app, if I recall, or a forums app or something like that. But they have seed money from what's his name? What is his name?
I can't remember, but it's a ton of money.
The Netscape guy. Yeah, so they have millions of dollars. And here you are, a guy working out of his home office, and this rivals anything I've seen anywhere else. I just am amazed, and I think you really should be proud of yourself, and I think the community needs to be proud that it has a member that would go to these extents that has done something like this. So well done, Patrick.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, I know you have another demonstration for us that is going to be pretty cool as well coming up, but I did want to take a moment to talk a bit about what is coming up in XMod Pro's future, because it has been a while since there's been any kind of a significant update. And the primary reason for that is that the DNN landscape has been kind of up in the air, and we're trying to figure out exactly how to move forward, what we want to do with XMod Pro, and we want to make sure that we are true to the heritage of XMod Pro, that we don't break any applications that have been built already. There's a lot of people running, a lot of companies and websites that are running XMod Pro, and we want to make sure that we do this in the right way. So we haven't done anything radical yet, but we have a version coming out because we're got to clean up some bugs, and there are just a couple of fairly significant features that we're going to include that I think is going to, while visually may not be, wow, it's going to provide you with a lot of flexibility in the kinds of solutions that you can build with XMod Pro, and I think that's really the most important part of XMod Pro. It's not really about the Flash, it's about what you can do with it, because your customers don't really care how you built it. They just want to make sure that you can build it. So with that said, I wanted to talk. I don't have anything to show you right now, but I did want to let you know that there are two features that I'm adding that I'm really kind of pleased with, and I hope you'll be as well. The first one is a long time request from the community, and that is to have something similar to the XMod select tag, but for forms. And what we've done, rather than just slap an XMod select tag in there, because frankly I think that would be confusing to have a select tag in a form when you also have a select command tag in there. And so we're not putting an XMod select in there. What we're doing is we're going to extend the panel tag. And right now you have a property on the panel tag called show if, I'm sorry, not show if, but show roles, in which you can determine what anything inside of that is going to show only for people who are members of specific roles. And so, keeping with that theme, we are adding something similar to what you see on the email tag, which is send if, but on the panel tag, we're going to call it show if. And it will work in pretty much the same way as the send if tag, although because it's used earlier in the process, the email is actually sent, after the form has been submitted. The panel tag is rendered earlier in the process, so it can't necessarily take advantage of all the different values that you can use with the send if. But what it will allow you to do is what you need it to do, which is send some sort of data to the form. You can use it in the select command, or you can set up a variable to pull something from a URL, and then you can use that data in the show if to determine if whatever's inside that panel tag is going to show. And that's going to work the nice thing is it's going to work in conjunction with the role permissions. So if you have both of these properties specified, then both of them have to be true in order for the contents of that panel to be shown to the user. So the show if has to evaluate to true, and the person has to be in whatever specified role that you've put in there for the show roles. If you only use show roles, obviously it's not going to evaluate the show if, and it'll just be people who are members of that role. And conversely, if you just have the show if property, then if that evaluates a true, it'll show it regardless of what role people are in, because you haven't specified that. So I think that's a nice addition. And then the other addition is on the template side, but affects forms. And this is something we also have had a lot of requests for, and that is to be able to show different forms in your template other than the one that's just been configured for it. So if let's just say, for example, you have multiple template tags in your template, you might have let's just say a list of genres. You've got books, so you got a list of genres in one template tag, and then you have the other one set up to list the books in that particular genre when a genre has been selected. Well, if you wanted to have an add button on that, previously you could only assign it to one form. So you would most likely just choose one or the other, or none, and then just have them manage that data elsewhere. But now you'll be able to have an add button inside of your, well, actually anywhere inside of your template. It doesn't even have to be inside of the template tag itself. And you just specify the name of the form you want to load and add it to the add button or the edit button. And it will load the form that you specified in that as if it were the configured form. So now you have complete control. If you don't specify a form name in your button, which is what you do now, you don't do that, it'll use whatever the configured form is. And if you specify a form name, then it is going to use that and show you that form and allow people to work with that form. So I think those are two really significant features that I wanted to get in, because this would probably be the last update of XMod Pro that supports so many versions of .NET Nuke. We're really getting to a point where, in order to move forward, to make life easier for you, we have to ditch the old versions of DNN. We have to move on to be able to leverage the new technologies in DNN, mainly Web API, and we're going to do a lot of things with that coming up in the next major version of XMod Pro, version 5. But these are going to keep you going, and I think already, as Patrick has proven, you can already build whatever you want with XMod Pro. And I think these two items and I think we have another one or two features that I'll just leave quiet for now, give you some surprises when we do release. But those two features, I think, are going to go a long way to helping you cover even more use cases that your clients might bring up. So I hope you'll enjoy those. And I don't have a firm ETA yet, but I can tell you that those features are done along with a bunch of other bug fixes. And I just want to see if we have to go through some more testing and some more tweaks to those features, and then add a couple of other things, and then we'll be releasing. So hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll have something for you. So stick around, and I hope you'll enjoy it when we do release. Of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to pop in and ask questions of me or Patrick. But I did want to let you guys know about the new features in 4.7. Okay, now Patrick, back to you. Let's talk a bit about infinite paging.
Alrighty, great news on the next release, Kelly. That's awesome. Fantastic feature.
Thank you.
All right, so what I've got here, you can see I'm actually starting to get more organized. Got my user group website set up here. And what I've got, just to get you guys started, is I've got a table, right, that's got some pretty much pointless poems and some other garbage that I wrote. And there is a very simple demonstration in the documentation for infinite paging using a feed button. So what you've got here is a demonstration of that demonstration. We've got a query that just grabs the top 5, and then we can click Show More and continue to do so until we run out of data. Now, some time ago, I thought, man, I can utilize this to on one of my websites. I wanted to give some type of live analytics for customers, business pages. They can get on there and see when people are visiting their page or if they clicked on anything. And I would query those activity tables based on that. So here's the difference between this. I thought, well, why go backwards when we can go backwards and forwards? What if there's new data that's available? So I've got this thing actually polling the server every 10 seconds. And if I go in here and type hello world, oops, it's just going to be hello. All right. If we sit here and wait long enough, as long as I didn't break anything between then and now, boom, there it is. You see it pops up red, and after a few seconds or so, it should, there it goes, it went back to normal. Well, then I thought, hey, what if we can ditch this button and switch this to lazy load instead? Now I've got another example with no button. And now as I scroll down, oh wait, I broke something. Hang on.
The demo gods are not happy, apparently.
That's why I don't know what I did there. Oh, maybe that was it. This is just what happens, isn't it? I did break something. You know, what's funny is I sat here and did this right beforehand. Oops. Okay. Sorry, guys.
That is okay. We'll just sit here and watch you debug.
Yeah.
You know how much fun that is live.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. It's actually instructive, but probably not so much fun for you.
No, it's not.
So, Kevin, Roy, you guys got any questions rumbling around in that head of yours? Well, two heads. I don't think you're sharing one head, but you know what I mean. While Patrick is trying to debug furiously, thought we'd open it up if you guys have something you'd like to say or questions or just chat. Roy?
No, yeah, didn't I? Okay, I was just asking. I was watching one of your examples using the knockout.
I fixed it, by the
JS.
way.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Never mind. See,
We'll come back to you, Roy.
no sweat.
Okay.
You know what it was? It was my zooming in on Windows here.
Weird.
I mean, I sat here and made sure that this thing worked.
Well, I figured as soon as Roy chirped up, you would get it solved.
Yeah.
Because we're all afraid of Roy's question.
All right, so then I thought lazy load. So, yeah, it was working. Nothing wrong with my code. I just thought I'd throw that out there. So now, as soon as I hit the bottom of the page, you can see it fetches new items without having to click on a button. Now, I actually had to put a delay on this because it happened so quickly. I wanted you to see that interaction. And once there's no more data, it shows that there's no more data. And the difference in this one is if I type something new, go back to the page, and we wait just long enough, unless I commented something else. There it goes, new data available. So you can click on that button and then show, yeah, I commented some stuff out.
So it's very much like the Twitter feed.
Yes. Yes.
Twitter.com, yeah.
So let's see what I commented out by accident. Well, that's okay. Let me just show you guys how this thing actually works. So first, I'll go back to my first one, and you can find this right in the docs. So what we've got here is up at the top. Let me try to zoom in, but let's see. Up at the top, I've just got class for the new one to just make it bold and red. Nothing special there. My list data source is just selecting the top 5 from this table that I created, and I'm ordering by the ID descending. And there's nothing in this table other than a sentence for each record. And then I've got the header, item, and footer template. I've given the header an ID of activity list. And in the item template, this is very important, I've got a hidden span tag in here. And the inner text of that span tag is the ID. And then just the message. Below that, I have a load feed button. And this is straight out of the documentation. I'm assigning the feed name, which is here. I'm assigning the target, which is the ID selector of what I'm going to do with the data. There goes my interval, jerking my page around. And infinite paging set to true, and I can assign a loading, there it goes again, a loading image URL. So what I'm doing down here is I'm setting an interval. I'm going to have to comment this interval out so I can even show you this. You guys, this happened to me a while back. I couldn't figure out what the heck was happening. But you remember that? I can't remember what I was working on that I ran into that, but oh goodness. Okay, so every 10,000 milliseconds, every 10 seconds, look for new activity. And there's that fetch new activity function. And what I'm doing is every time that runs, I'm removing that new class from any of the existing items. That gets rid of that bold red. And I'm getting the first ID, which this is just a selector here. I'm looking at the activity list, which is the UL. And I'm finding the first LI element, the span tag, which is that hidden tag, and I just want the text out of it. That's the ID of the record. the first ID. And then I'm using a shorthanded AJAX call, a GET request here, to my feed name. I'm passing in the portal ID, which is required, and the first ID. And then once that happens, I can deal with the data that's returned. If the data has length, meaning if data was returned, I can simply prepend that data to the list. So looking at the feed, here is the get old and the get new. They're almost identical. The get old is the one when you click on the XMod Pro feed button, select top 5 from the table where the ID is less than the last ID, and order by ID descending. You can see that this is what the XMod Pro load feed with infinite paging does for you. You're passing the parameter value as last ID in. And then I've got my item template, passing in the ID and the message. Well, the get new is the exact same, except it's the exact opposite of that. So select star from that same table where the ID is greater than the first ID. And then that data pulls in there as well. So those are my two feeds. So if we look at the fancier one, let's go to the fancier one. This is one where we scroll. Pretty nifty. So let's take a look at how that works. Okay, so in this one I have a class for LI with new. There's the color red, font weight bold. And instead of just showing it, these come in as hide me, display none. So the feed returns the new day with that class added to them. I have a bottom loader here. This is just a declaration for the ID of bottom loader, which is just showing the loading GIF, which you can find in your images path, and just display none by default. I've got another div that's got an ID of no more data, display none, and new data, display none. All right, so now we're selecting the top 10, and here in my header template you can see I've got the div ID of new data, and then just a button inside that says new data available. So if you start thinking about how you can utilize something like this, you can say 5 new stories, something like that you see on Facebook, Twitter, stuff like that. Inside of here, same thing, except down here at the bottom I've got my bottom loader and my no more data div. And the magic is down here in the JavaScript. So I'm creating a global variable called fetching, and I'm giving it the value of false. This enables me to access this variable from within other functions. And the reason it's important is because if I do this and scroll up and down and keep hitting that scroll, it will call the feed over and over again while it's currently fetching data, and you're going to get a lot of duplicate records. So you have to lock it. You have to tell it, wait a minute, we're fetching data, so we need to track how that data is being fetched, and you'll see here in just a second. So here's my set interval for fetching new activity, but here's the one for fetching older activity. This is just a simple window scroll function, which you need to evaluate if you're zoomed way out on the screen. But if window.scrollTop is equal to the document height minus the window height, then we've hit the bottom of the page. And you can do something like this if you want to search if a particular div or other HTML element is in view. You've seen that a lot. Most of the time it's an annoying ad that pops up when you get to a certain point of the page. And here's where we check we only want to fetch old activity if we're not currently fetching. So if fetching equals false, then we'll fetch old activity. And let's go down to the fetch old activity. So if that function is called, then we change fetching to true. We show the bottom loader. We grab the last ID, and we do our get request. Here you can see when the data is returned, I've created a set timeout function because it goes so fast. I wanted you to see how it's actually working. And in that callback, once that's done, I switch fetching back to false. You got to be careful with this. It's these AJAX requests are asynchronous. So if I were to flag this fetching to false outside of this callback, then it would break it because it would immediately switch it to false, and we could continue to call this function. And else, if there is no more data, then we hide the bottom loader and we show the div that says no more data is available. On the button, when you click that button, let's see, new data button, click function. So I'm assigning a click function to that button, and I'm hiding that div that holds the button immediately after it's clicked. And then I'm searching for elements that have the class hide me. That's what I did. I had trouble setting up the demo because Bootstrap has a class called hide, and I had to switch it to hide me. And then I'm setting a timeout to where it will remove that red after a couple seconds. So this is and of course we can scroll down here and you can see new data available up here. Click on the button and there it was red for just a couple seconds. We can keep going back. But this is great for, I think, analytics and other things like that. Or if you want to get into a social-based site, just have to be careful with the polling. If you've got thousands of people on a site and something's hitting the server every 10 seconds times thousands of people. So, use with care. And any questions on this so far? I am going to put this on the Exchange so you guys will be able to get to the code, but we're running short on time.
Any questions? You were quite succinct in your description, apparently.
Either that or I did a horrible presentation and no one wants to ask a question.
No, this is really nice. Thank you, Roy. Roy says good stuff.
Thanks, Roy.
I'm getting a lot of echo again. Not sure. Are your speakers on there, Patrick? No?
I don't hear any echo. You want to mute my mic?
No, that's all right. I'll deal with it. You're getting the echo? Is your mic on? Oh. I don't understand. Anyway, thank you, Patrick. That's really neat. Because really, in this you have the Facebook way of doing things, and you have the Twitter way of doing things. Facebook being when you scroll down, it will load some more stuff for you automatically without you having to press a button. Twitter, of course, is when there's a couple of new tweets, then it'll give you a little notification at the top that you click on to see the new stories. I assume that if you added 2 records to your data table in succession, it would show both of them?
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, let's try to break it.
I would suggest, in a real-world application that you're targeting a specific div. As you can see, I ran into problems when I zoomed in 180% on this screen. I don't know how many people do that, but
yeah, you might want to set up something on a resize event for the window.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't played with that too much myself. So it worked.
Yes, it did.
The demo gods are now shining on you.
They can't break me down, man.
It's been an excellent session for you this time around, this October. What's the weather like there in Paducah?
Paducah, it's just the way I like it. It's anywhere from 60 to 70, sometimes 80. I'd rather it stay just like that. Unfortunately, around here we get about a month of that, and then it's freezing cold. And then we get a month of nice weather after winter, and then it's blazing hot, and you step outside and feel like you walked into a swimming pool.
Well, come on out to Arizona during the winter. We have several months of nice stuff, which we have to pay for in the summer. But
yes, yeah.
We enjoy it while we can. All right, so thanks again. I am assuming no one has any questions on that, but of course, if you do, feel free to chime in. Well, let's get back to you so that I don't forget. What was your question now?
Basically, I was just following one of an example I think you had posted out there sometime back using Knockout, which I used successfully or followed your examples, and it was really, really good. So I enjoyed it. And Patrick and I have conversed about some of the jQuery things like data tables and things like that. So I guess the question is, on the website, is there a possibility of more advanced topics addressing things like this? Or because they seem, I know you guys are busy developing, there just seems to be sometimes a lack of maybe some of this type of guidance or information out there that might be helpful. Just a thought.
What would you be interested in? What are your pain points?
Well, my pain point is trying to make a living, and all of the Patrick's helped a great deal. But following the examples in the book and some of the things that you've posted, I've learned more in the last 6 months than I've learned in the last 6 years. So you guys have been great. Just some of the questions I see out there, and some of the neat stuff like you guys are doing today. These are outstanding topics, and now I have a hammer. Now I gotta go find the nail. So that's cool.
Well, yeah, we kind of are in a bit of a difficult position with XMod and XMod Pro in that we're trying to serve a couple of different audiences. One would be the people who come to the product looking to get something done because they're on a deadline and they don't really know much about web development. They probably haven't even looked at HTML or JavaScript or CSS at all. And so we have to find some ways to ease them into this. And so a lot of what I try to do is kind of cater to that audience to make it easier for people to use it. And a lot of times I'll leave it to Patrick to do all the fancy stuff because he's got the time for it with his 10 trillion kids. And but yeah, no, if there are specific things that you would like us to cover, just let us know. Send me an email or send Patrick an email or when you're talking to them.
Okay. Well, everybody's been really helpful, so thank you.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Part of our problem is that we don't really necessarily know what to do all the time. We're just kind of making it up out of whole cloth, or if we happen to run across something that we've done in a project for a client, then we'll take a bit out and use that. But we'd love to feed from ideas and suggestions from the community. So if you're running through Knockout and you're having difficulties or you're trying to build something, I can't say that we're going to sit down and take the time to just build whatever it is that you were trying to build. But
absolutely, yeah, understood.
It gives us a better sense, and sometimes we actually will build what you're trying to build, and then you get to save all that time. But it does give us an idea of what kinds of things that you're after. Now, how long have you been using XMod Pro?
Well, XMod Pro since it came out, but XMod before that, so many years. But with projects scattered throughout.
So you're an old fogey at this, then.
Old, yes. Fogey, definitely. I have one other auxiliary or another question.
Sure.
Might want to throw this out. I've also been around DNN since the iBuySpy portal days. So,
yeah.
you know, so where is this thing going, or does anybody really know now? Because it just seems to have taken a left turn over the last year or so.
So you're asking us to prognosticate about the life of .NET Nuke?
Well, not in so many words, but yes.
No, but yes.
Well, yes. Okay. So when's the
no,
WordPress version
not at
coming
all.
out? Yes. Okay.
It's actually a tough question to answer. There are a lot of great things happening in DNN. I think once they release version 7, even 7.1 really, probably, I think it turned a corner in terms of being much more usable for everyday use, for building modules that integrate better and are more modern in their approach. The integration of Web API, I think, is probably the best thing that .NET Nuke has done for many versions, and that's one of the reasons that after this release, although we'll probably have bug fixes, but after this release, we won't be supporting anything that doesn't have Web API in it, because we just simply need to provide that additional functionality and flexibility for people. So that in and of itself makes it a much easier call for me when I'm talking to clients. That, you know, I know that, well, for instance, I have built, and I'm always using XMod Pro, but I have built several solutions for clients that are using Backbone as the client-side framework, and they're leveraging Web API, and of course XMod Pro is there to set it all up and to kind of bootstrap the whole thing and manage it, and it works really well. We still have a few issues every now and again. I had some issues with Require.js in this particular project, and its loading of it was the Kendo UI library, because we're having problems with .NET Nuke and the skin injecting jQuery. But other than that, you know, it's been pretty smooth sailing in that regard. So the problem I see is that it doesn't have a lot of traction in terms of mind share anymore, and anything related to Microsoft really hasn't had any advantage in terms of getting mind share, because everybody has moved to open source. It's all been PHP, and of course Node now, and that makes it very hard for any kind of Microsoft technology to really gain a grip, except for in enterprises. So I think with Microsoft's recent turn to supporting open source, to moving the .NET stack onto other operating systems, I think we're going to see, at least we have a really good chance at seeing .NET Nuke sort of regain its energy and its vitality in the marketplace. But what do you think, Patrick?
I was muted. Apologies. I think when you were discussing the future of XMod Pro, the DNN is going through the same life cycle right now. For example, you've got to come to a place to where you can't support older technology so that you can move on to the newest and greatest things. That's just software. That's just technology. So, for example, all the cool stuff that you can do with Web API. You know, Kelly, you were talking about using Backbone. I've built a massive project for a client using DNN Web API, bootstrapping everything with XMod Pro and using Angular for the client-side framework. And what DNN is facing is is Microsoft product, and they're having to look at how to leverage some of the greatest features. And one of those is, you know, model view controller type setup. So I see Microsoft as turning a good corner, going in a good direction. They're opening a lot of their stuff up, even their development tools. Visual Studio, you can get the community version as long as you're not making a ton of money on it commercially. You can get all the features that you used to have to pay thousands of dollars for. So they're recognizing what people want, what people need, and what people are running to when they don't get it. And they're filling the gaps there. And naturally, I think DNN falls right into place with that. I think it's going to grow, and I think it's going to get better. I think it took a dip. A lot of that stuff should probably keep to myself, but my opinion on it. But I think that the community is starting to build again, and that it is going in a good direction. I will say this: I've worked with WordPress and some other things, and .NET Nuke DNN is an extremely powerful CMS. It really is. And when I build a project, I don't see much of a need to use anything else. So for me, I have no intention of walking away, even though I do use other stuff. You know, Kelly both played around with Node and some other things, but I don't know if I answered the question. I see it going in a good direction. I see it as it's going to have to follow Microsoft, and I think Microsoft's going in a better direction overall.
That's a good succinct answer. I mean, I don't really think we can have an answer. We're not privy to any inside knowledge, and we are not very good at predicting the future either. It's my many losing lottery tickets, but so I hope that helps, muddy the waters even more for you.
Well, we're all invested pretty much in the infrastructure here, and some of us more than others, but we've been lucky in, I guess, making a living in some way, shape, or form for all of us. So it was just interesting to hear other people involved at a much higher level in this than I am to address that. So thank you very much.
Sure. When it all comes down to it, we're just building what is best for our clients. And I, like Patrick, I have built sites in WordPress, and honestly, without bias, I've hated every second of it because it's just a horrible, horrible way to build a website. I can't say anything good about it other than everybody uses it, and there are lots of plugins. But if you actually try to change anything in WordPress, oh my goodness, you're in for a world of hurt. It's not a very efficient way to build a website. And let's face it, it was a blog before, blog software, and they just try to make it into an application building framework. And .NET Nuke really has been an application building framework from the beginning, and it has that advantage. So I'm still with DNN, and I still pick it up. And it honestly doesn't matter because it's open source. Even if it goes downhill, you have a ton of modules. You have the source code there. And it doesn't really matter if DNN Corp goes by the wayside even. Not that that's going to happen, but even if it did, your clients are safe, you know the platform, and you're going to be in good shape either way. So it's really a matter of preference anymore. All right. See you, Kevin. Thanks for joining us. So anyway, that's I'll get off my soapbox, and we'll let everybody get out of here. So once again, Patrick, thank you so much. It is always really interesting to see what you come up with for your demonstrations, and congratulations again on the book. Looking forward to you completing the rest of it. That'll be done by the end of the week, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay, and and Roy and Kevin, who departed, really thank you for joining us live. And we hope you join us again next month, November. And I don't know what that date is. We might have to move it around because of the holidays. Yeah, so just check our Google Plus page or check our Twitter feed, etc., and we'll let you know when it happens. That will do it. And thank you again for joining us. We will see you next month.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Thanks. Take care.